Hello class, and hello Marta. So Marta told me that the question from my last video, what is art, got everyone talking, and that you'd be interested in my response. This is a surprisingly difficult question to answer. There aren't really any physical or practical parameters. You can't simply say, art should look like this or function like that. Art can look like or be experienced as just about anything, and the same work often elicits different responses from different people. It's not just a way to represent the world around us. It's a way to explore and understand, and open a channel of communication to share our understanding of inner and outer worlds. In a way, art is the vessel through which it is possible to make connections and enhance our understanding of ourselves, each other, and the world around us. So, this week we're discussing installation art. What do you think of installation art? What kinds of characteristics does it have? Pause here and discuss your initial thoughts. Installation art involves the configuration or installation of objects in a space. The arrangement of material and space is the artwork. Because an installation usually allows the viewer to enter and move around the space and interact with its elements, it offers a viewer a very different experience from a traditional painting or sculpture. An installation may also engage several of the viewer's senses, including touch, sound, smell, as well as vision. Installation art takes into account the viewer's entire sensory experience, effectively inverting the principles of sculpture. Where sculpture is designed to be viewed from the outside as a self-contained arrangement of forms, installations often envelop the spectator in the space of the work. What makes installation art different from sculpture or other traditional art forms is that it's a complete unified experience rather than a display of separate individual artworks. The focus on how the viewer experiences the work is a dominant theme in installation art. As artist Ilya Kaprow said, "The main actor in the total installation, the main centre toward which everything is addressed, for which everything is intended, is the viewer." Almost any type of material or media can be utilised, including natural or man-made objects, painting and sculpture, as well as more recent media like film, animation, live performance art, sound and audio. Some compositions are restricted to indoor spaces, while others are public art constructed in open-air community spaces. Some are mute, while others are interactive and require audience participation for their completion. Site-specific installations are custom-made for a particular space. Others can be assembled anywhere. Some even tour as part of a touring exhibition. Most writers agree on the history of installation art, the importance of modernist precursors such as the Prounenraum at Berlin railway station in 1923, possibly the earliest ever installation, and Kurt Schwitters' Merzbau, 1933, which filled a whole building, as well as Allan Kaprow's environments and happenings of the early 1960s. In a 1965 interview, Allan Kaprow said of his first environment, "I just simply filled the whole gallery up. When you opened the door, you found yourself in the midst of an entire environment." His 1966 book, Assemblage, Environments and Happenings, was also highly influential on the development of installation art. In 1961 in New York, Claes Oldenburg created an early environment, the store.
In 1961, Oldenburg rented a storefront at 107 East 2nd Street, where he both made and sold art.
The stores of the Lower East Side, at that time anyway, were quite fascinating. The way things were displayed.
Oldenburg created a dialogue between his handcrafted art objects and the fixtures of a real store. At the heart of the store was this particularly lumpy-looking sculpture called cash register.
Well, of course, you need a cash register if you have a store, right?
The role of the capitalist economy at this very lowest level of exchange was for Oldenburg a way of bringing to people's attention the contradictions and the ambiguities of the market economy that ruled not only buying and selling of cans of soda, but the buying and selling of art.
Artists associated with minimalism rejected the messy, expressionistic environments of their immediate precursors, such as Allan and Claes Oldenburg. Minimalism drew attention to the space in which the work was shown, and gave rise to the direct engagement with this space as a work in itself. So, how does this work by Robert Morris engage the viewer and the space? Pause here and discuss your response. This work by Morris, consisting of 4 large cubes of mirrored glass, produces complex and shifting interactions with the environment in which they are placed, and with the viewer who walks among them. Paradoxically, this work, which has such an assertive physical presence, simultaneously undermines its physical reality by the way in which it reflects and effectively merges with its surroundings. The use of fluorescent light tubes to create art further emphasized the minimalist move away from traditional art forms. Flavin used light and color from commercially available tubes to sculpt space into color zones. The work of art is not comprised of the material itself, in this case the fluorescent light fixtures and colored tubes, but instead the shape and color of the light emitted by the tubes. Flavin literally sculpts and defines spaces with colored light, creating a completely new form of art that's most notable for its lack of materiality, yet seemingly solid presence that almost appears to invade the viewer's space. Younger artists, Keith Samier and Bruce Nauman, saw the potential of light in sculpture and used neon tubing in combination with other materials and lettering. Bruce Nauman's installations are concerned with our bodily response to space. His video corridors of the 1970s aimed to make us feel out of sync with our surroundings. In the closed-circuit installation, Live Taped Video Corridor, Nauman set up 2 monitors, one above the other, at the end of a corridor almost 10 meters long and only 50 centimeters wide. The lower monitor features a videotape of the corridor. The uppermost monitor shows a closed-circuit tape recording of a camera at the entrance to the corridor. On entering the corridor and approaching the monitors, you quickly come across the area surveyed by the camera. But the closer you get to the monitor, the further you are from the camera, with the result that your image on the monitor becomes increasingly smaller. You see yourself from behind. The feeling of alienation induced by walking away from yourself is heightened by your being enclosed in a narrow corridor. Here, rational orientation and emotional insecurity clash with each other. A person thus monitored suddenly slips into the role of someone monitoring their own activities. While the works of these artists make the visitor feel aware of the space they're in, many of the 1990s artists placed more emphasis on the viewer's active participation to generate the meaning of the work, a trend that cultural critic Nicolas Bourrion described as relational aesthetics. For 1997's Untitled, Tomorrow is Another Day, Rirkrit Tiravanija recreated his New York apartment and kept it open 24 hours a day, allowing visitors to come in and make food, sleep, watch TV, or have a bath. Christine Hill made Volksboutique, a fully functioning second-hand clothes shop for Documenta X in 1997. In both examples, the emphasis is less on the visual appearance of the space than on the uses made of it by the visitors. Using human interaction as his primary material, Rirkrit Tiravanija creates socially engaged conceptual works that change relationships with the audience. He is best known for his cooking performances, which began in the early 1990s. In these works, Tiravanija rejected traditional art objects altogether, and instead installed a kitchen in the gallery, cooking and serving food for free. The visitor, who ate, conversed, shared, and generally interacted, was not a spectator, but an active participant in the creation of the art. So what do you think of this work? Which part is the artwork? The kitchen, the food, or the people? Pause the video here and discuss your responses. In this deceptively simple conceptual piece, the artist invites the visitor to interact with contemporary art in a more sociable way and blurs the distance between artist and viewer. You aren't looking at the art, but a part of it. You are, in fact, making the art as you eat the curry or pad thai and talk with friends and new acquaintances. Tiravanija introduces ways to enable the public to be part of the art-making process. His work reframes the experience of art. It's no longer conceived as a solitary, meditative relationship between an art object and a viewer, but instead as a situation in which audience participants are reminded that they're social entities coming into completion only in relation with one another.
So what Free did was literally free people to interact with contemporary art in a more sociable way. You're not participating in a performance that will be documented sometime in the future as art, but you are the art, and you are making the art in real time as you eat the curry and talk to your friends.
The work is a platform for people to interact with the work itself, but also with each other. A lot of it is also about a kind of experiential relationship. So you actually are not really looking at something, but you are within it, you're part of it. The distance between the artist and the art and the audience gets a bit blurred.
Yayoi Kusama's installations are described by gallerist Richard Castellane as breaking all boundaries of space. Kusama's Obliteration Room not only provides an immersive environment into which viewers can walk and interact, it also allows viewers to contribute to the actual making of the installation. Over the course of a few weeks, the room is transformed from a blank canvas into an explosion of colour, with thousands of spots stuck over every available surface. So what do you think this work might be about? Pause the video here and discuss your responses.
It's her way of kind of covering the surface. It's a reflection of her vision, but it's also a way of embracing the whole world in a kind of overall pattern. And the interesting thing about this work in particular is that where she's moved from creating an environment of spots that we passively appreciate or enjoy or walk through, she's now moved on to actually involving the audience in the creation of this dotted, spotted interior.
Kusama's obliterations result in the destruction of boundaries of self, dissolving herself and her surroundings into a field of dots. When asked about the meaning of self-obliteration, Kusama responded, by obliterating one's individual self, one returns to the infinite universe. Kusama has also created a series of mirrored rooms that reflect the viewer's image infinitely, thus removing any sense of stable identity. As we've seen, a wide variety of work falls under the umbrella of installation art. As artist Liam Gillick observes, the term describes a mode and type of production rather than a movement or strong ideological framework. Despite the lack of a consistent theme or objective, there are certain ideas that persist in the work of artists who produce installation work. Central to these works is the desire to activate the viewer and to provoke an acute awareness towards the environments in which we find ourselves.